is very significant because this someone was quite legendary. I was telling a staff member that for her travel the of Jamaica. I think if she stopped in any parish, she would have for where she would overnight because she was well known across the island. She attended parish library committees, and so she was owned by everyone, loved by everyone. And as I indicated, in terms of a member of staff, losing a loved one, she was legendary for traveling to all the nooks and crannies across to attend Thanksgiving service. Considered of staff, members of family of staff. Thanks. I also want to acknowledge the other managers in the audience and directors, staff of the island are also here. I see the Patricia's Modernary there in acknowledgements, and also other well wishers in the audience, other committees and friends, well wishers. I also extend a very warm welcome. My pleasure to bring remarks on this occasion. Today we are here to launch the book titled Young Glorious Distinction and Director General of the Jamaica Library Service, and I will add, limited author. It was some time ago that Mrs. Salmon called me and indicated that she was completing her book that she should have a long time ago, but then she had put it on for a while. With the encouragement of friends, she decided to pick it up back again so that she could complete this very interesting assignment. And in so doing, she relied on us to provide her with some photographs that we had in the organization and that she wanted to include in her book. And so we had a discussion with her. We agreed at the time on the date that the book would be launched, and I assured her that she would have our full support in this exercise and would have been more than happy to accommodate it at the Jamaica Library Service. So for this to be happening this morning, I'm very pleased that you are this important. Permit me to share with you some highlights of her training in the organization, which is near and dear to her heart. You know, she would call me sometimes and before Maureen, that's how she pronounced my name, and she would share whatever the concern was. So we were very accustomed to her calling and giving feedback where there's something about the Jamaica Library Service. Most times it was that you would have heard or seen in the media, or she wanted to suggest that we do. So we were very appreciative of her constantly being in touch with the organization. Mrs. Gloria Salmon joined the Jamaica Library Service in 1946 as a library assistant. Her career spanned 46 years of committed and dedicated service to the organization, serving at all levels. During her illustrious career, she served the Jamaica Library Service in several positions, and I will share a few with you. She was senior librarian of the Accession Department at headquarters. She was senior librarian at the Portland Parish Library, where she was deployed at, and she was also here in this very location. She acted as senior librarian of the Kingston and St. Andrews Parish Library. She was also the supervisor of the then Schools Library Service, which has now been renamed to the School Library Network. She was also principal librarian. She acted the role of personnel officer. So this is someone did all the functions of an HR person at the time, and she was also deputy director. She was appointed director of the Jamaica Library Service in November 1991 and Director General in November 2000 until her retirement on June 13, 2002. Mrs. Salmon was the epitome of a consummate professional. There is no question about that. Her long and faithful service contributed to the growth and development of the Jamaica Library Service, especially in the expansion of the service at the time through the opening of new branch libraries and the reopening of branches that were closed in the parishes of St. Catherine, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, St. James, Portland, and Westminster. It was under her leadership of the JLS that there was a wide-scale introduction of computer services in parish libraries island-wide, and a significant activity for the organization under her leadership was a restructuring of the organization that was implemented in 2000. And this saw the establishment of a new region, Region 6, and the introduction of new divisions and departments at the administrative headquarters. The new divisions that were established included a human resource management and administration division, and of course, having previously worked as a personnel officer, this division benefited tremendously from the experience that Mrs. Salmon garnered during her role as personnel officer. Mrs. Salmon was an advocate for volunteerism, and she readily gave up her expertise and time for the furtherance of the work of education, charitable institutions, and the Ministry of Education. She was widely recognized for her outstanding service in librarianship, early childhood education, and adult continuing education. I remember when I was posted in St. Thomas at the time, it was normal for Mrs. Salmon to come to the parish on a Saturday to have activities related to adult continuing education. I do recall that very well. Her wealth of knowledge was shared beyond the local library fraternity through papers that she presented at regional and international conferences. Her international interactions led her to be entered as a member of the coordinating board of the International Federation of Library Association and Institutions, properly called IFLA. Locally, Mrs. Salmon was a member on the executive committee of many Jamaica National Commission for UNESCO, including the advisory committee. She was also a member of the executive committee and chairman of the Jamaica Committee for Children's Literature from the National Book Development Council of Jamaica. She also served as board director of Jamal, I was not Jamal myself, which was the Jamaica movement for the advancement of literacy. And that aligned very well with the Jamaica Library Service. At the time, we had previous directors of the organization who went on to serve in general medicine. She was also an executive committee member and chairman of the Adult Education Lead Committee of the Jamaica Council for Adult Education. Mrs. Salmon also gave service to several other committees across ministry departments and agencies. No doubt, during her tenure as Director General, Mrs. Salmon improved the level and quality of performance of the organization, resulting in the Jamaica Library Service being the recipient of the 1998 Honor Award from the Lena Company Limited and the Gold Medal Award in recognition of 50 years of the organization, achieving continual improvement in service to the nation. And in her book, she posted that she was on the lawn at the front of the GS, and while talking to the gardener, she saw a vehicle passing and someone looking curiously, and eventually she indicated that it was the head of the cleaner of the, at the time, Oliver Clark. And so he would have been instrumental in the organization being recognized nationally. Mrs. Salmon made a commitment to serve, and this saw her giving of herself to the Jamaica Library Service and to the library and information industry locally and overseas. By her distinguished leadership, tenacity, and stalwart of the profession of librarianship and the Jamaica Library Service, Mrs. Salmon also served diligently, receiving several other recognitions for this part service. These include the Order of Distinction Commander Class, Institute of Jamaica Centenary Medal, the Jamaica Library Service 50th Anniversary Award, the Jamaica Library Association 50th Anniversary Award. She was also awarded the Distinguished Women's Award from the American Biographical Institute. Mrs. Salmon coached, counseled, and mentored countless librarians, including myself, paraprofessionals, and administrative staff in the Jamaica Library Service, helping them to shape their educational pursuits and professional development. On the occasion of the 70th anniversary of the Jamaica Library Service, 25 members of staff were presented with the Gloria Salmon Award in recognition of their 25 to 29 years of faithful service to the organization. And that recognition was in 2019 during the celebration of our 70th anniversary. The Jamaica Library Service has undertaken to honor her legacy by continuing to document the contribution and achievement of the organization. In this regard, we have established a research and publication committee, and I have the chairman of this committee here, Mrs. Paul Garrow. And this committee has been mandated to advance research and publication to make a library service to share locally and globally. It therefore gives us great pleasure on the occasion of celebrating Library and Information Week, being celebrated this week, October 30th to November 4th, to host the launch of the book of such a distinguished librarian who we are all proud to call our own. Beyond My Wildest Dreams chronicles Gloria Salmon's journey. Growing up in Westmoreland, her work life and his romance, volunteerism, church involvement, her family life, her travels, and 46 years of sterling service going on to her retirement years. And I really look forward to the readings later on in the program. Most importantly, this book is a pioneer publication as a biography that intertwines a personal and inspirational life story, the history of the Jamaica Library Service, and a lifetime of public service given by Gloria Salmon beyond her wildest dreams. The Jamaica Library Service has acquired 250 copies of her book, which has been widely distributed in our parish and branch libraries and school libraries island-wide for all to read. We also encourage everyone to buy your personal copy of the book. We thank Mrs. Salmon for her perseverance to complete the book, for sharing her life story, and we thank you this morning for sharing in the launch of her book here at the Jamaica Library Service, where it all began for Gloria Salmon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Our next item is from Ms. Christine Randall, but before she comes, I'd just like to read an apology that I have from Audrey Barnett. And he says, I wish to formally apologize, and unfortunately I will not be able to make this special event. I am in awe of Mrs. Salmon's verve and determination, which have culminated in the publication being launched. Girls and women worldwide will be inspired by her journey, and hence I'm so proud of her legacy. So that's from Audio Barnett. Before Christine comes, I just like to read something from the book, just a short passage, because it speaks about Christine's father, Mr. Ian Randall, who's here. And Christine has a great foundation. And so it says, she was speaking about her relationship with King the Sangsters, Mr. Billy Sangster, and she spoke about Mrs. Shirley Carvey, who is here from Carlin Publishers as well. And then she says, Ian Randall Publishers are who are the publishers of the book, a closely knit family business allows the man in charge to spread his wings further into the publishing industry. And so Ian Randall started Caribbean Publishers Network, of which he was the first president, to introduce Caribbean publishers to Jamaica and to plan a forward movement. He organized a conference in Jamaica, November 1 to 7, 2001. Mr. Randall extended a kind invitation for me to be part of this organizing committee, which I welcomed heartily. Mr. Randall was later awarded the Order of Distinction in Jamaica's Independence Honors List in 2002 for services in publishing. Not only is it heartily deserved on a personal level, but it also recognizes the amazing success he has achieved in building up a large and financially viable Caribbean list. It is the first time that a Caribbean government has seen book publishing as something worth recognizing. Other accolades were to follow. He was named a laureate of the Prince Claus Foundation of the Netherlands in 2012, and the following year an honorary Doctor of Laws LLB degree by the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus in Trinidad for his services to publishing in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean. So that's about Mr. Randall, but now we'll hear from Chris.
I'm not quite sure why Mrs. Barton used Ian to introduce me, but anyway, so it is. Here I am. I greet you all well, and I hope you are all the same. It's wonderful to be here this morning and to see a full house, really. You know, that is unusual these days, but it's a fitting tribute to Gloria. I'm mindful of the time based on the challenges of this morning, so my remarks are going to be brief. They're usually brief anyway, because, you know, as a publisher, I always shy away from stealing the author's thunder and the celebration of the book. And I should tell you, Mrs. Barton and Ms. Thompson, it's not unusual for there to be a missing element in a book launch. I mean, I've been to, so Gloria is not here with us physically, but we are celebrating her life and her achievements. And I've been to book launches where the book isn't even there. So not to worry, we proceed full speed ahead. I've been at IRP that's Ian Randall Publishers, for 22 years, can't believe it. The last 16 of which as its managing director. And so I crossed paths professionally with Gloria only for a very short time. But I did work with her in that secretariat at that conference that you mentioned. My role as managing director, what that has been responsibility for the nitty-gritty of getting books published, marketed, and sold. And Ian, as chairman, can work on his pet projects. He doesn't come into office. He does what he wants to do when he wants to do it. Beyond My Wildest Dreams was and is one of those pet projects. Gloria and Ian go a far way back. And so when she reached out to him for guidance in putting together this memoir, he was only too happy to oblige. Of course, the pressure was on. Now listen to this carefully. When the manuscript reached me at the beginning of November 2021, with an entreaty and instruction really, to try and have some printed copies of the finished book by December. November, the manuscript reached me. Publishing involves editorial work, proofreading, layout and design, cover design, printing, all of which take quite a bit of time. Ian's exact words were, on December 20, hello Christine, on December 20, Gloria, this is in an email, Gloria will celebrate her 90th birthday. I know it's a stretch, especially with longer printing lead times and uncertain shipping logistics, but could we push to get copies done for the occasion? I'd really like to surprise her. Pressure. Simultaneously, Gloria reached out to Shirley Carby, another longtime colleague in the book business, and Shirley agreed to collaborate with us to make the publication a reality. Well, on December 17th, 3 days shy of her birthday, Ian and I took a trip out to Harborview on the pretense of having her sign the publishing contract, which I insisted needed to be done before, things were firm and formalized. And we delivered copies of her book to a joyous and tearful Gloria Salmon. She was surprised beyond her wildest dreams. I always say that each of us have a story to tell. And as you would have heard from Mrs. Thompson's greetings and remarks earlier, Gloria's life is chock full and a story well worth reading. It is a story and a lesson in humility, in elegance and professionalism. Apart from documenting Gloria's personal life, it naturally records the growth and indeed the work of the Jamaica Library Service, a critical yet often overlooked resource. For my part, I am happy that during the life of Ian Randall Publishers, we've maintained our relationship with the Jamaica Library Service, one of our key partners. Happily, just about a month to 6 weeks ago, we actually had a book presentation, the first formal public presentation of one of our newest books at the Trelawney Parish Library by David Batts, Justice David Batts, who is a son of Trelawney, and he wanted to ensure that Trelawney was the first place to have received the book publicly. And so we had a presentation with the librarian, the senior librarian there under the auspices of the Jamaica Library Service. To Gloria, I say congratulations again on the publication. To Jamaica Library Service, thank you for your continued support. And to all of you, good morning.
Thank you very much, Ms. Randall. And now we're going to move on to greetings now from Reverend Canon Michael Allen, Rector of Church of the Ascension. Now, Michael, if I can call him that, he's a library baby. His mother, Mrs. Gloria Baker, was the person who introduced me to librarianship at the Clarendon Parish Library. And so Michael is well known among those in the library fraternity. I used to remember when he used to come to the library during the summer holidays and was always reading the encyclopedias from back to front. That is Michael. So Michael, your turn now to bring greetings.
Good morning. It is my joy to acknowledge our Master of Ceremonies and the former Director General of the Jamaica Library Service, Mrs. Karen Barton, the current Director General of the Jamaica Library Service, Ms. Marie Thompson, Ms. Christine Randall of Ian Randall Publishing, my colleagues in ministry, the Very Reverend Sean Major Campbell, the present Rector of St. Boniface Cure and therefore Rector of Mrs. Salmon, the Reverend Father Kirk Brown, her former Rector of many years, Father Leslie Bossan, and other speakers on the program, Mrs. Urquhart, Mr. Drisdale, and other participants of the program, including my aunt, Mrs. Pamela Williams, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the audience, and most of all, family of the author and the author herself, Mrs. Gloria Sammer. Today, as has been said, we have gathered together to signal our appreciation of a book entitled Beyond My Wildest Dreams, that will serve as an encouragement to many others as to how it is possible through hard work and fixity of purpose to achieve great heights in life that is measured not by what you have managed to gain in terms of wealth and status, but rather in terms of what has been given in the areas of service, education, and community and nation building. This book, being an autobiography, is even more special, for we are able to hear from the author an honest perspective of life in the times that God has privileged that individual to live. In that context, the reader is also treated to an important part of history, that being the history of the Jamaica Library Service. And it is from that angle of history that I feel it to be a great privilege and also a great responsibility to speak and pay tribute to our author, Mrs. Gloria Sammer, Aunt Gloria to me and to many others, whose story reminds us that no one is an island and no one stands alone. Aunt Gloria is an example of that reality. For as she testified in her book, most of her work life was with the Jamaica Library Service. That formally came into being in 1948, and which believed that we cannot achieve great things individually. It has to be a collective process. The mandate of the JLS, as it became known, was to develop a network of libraries that through the process of lending books and facilitating the passage of information in all its forms would become in every parish, in every capital of the parish, in every village, a source and center for knowledge and fellowship. To accomplish this awesome task, the library service practitioners immediately recognized that they had to be more than colleagues. They had to be a family. This is because while they dedicated themselves to the task of literally, and I mean literally building libraries, the buildings themselves, and at the same time grow the collection, they also had the realities of spouses and, more important, of children. Therefore, in this setting, the children of one librarian, and indeed the children of a library worker, was the children of all. The only thing was that you called one of them mommy, mom or mother, while the others went by the term aunties. Yet still also functioning as your mother as well, so you better don't misbehave. Therefore, as a consequence of the template that the librarians of the library service had set in terms of being a family from the very beginning, we the children had the privilege of not only having library aunties, but we also had the privilege of having library cousins. So I pause here to salute my cousins, children of Aunt Gloria, as we all recognize that we belong to a family that is bigger than our blood family. In that regard, Aunt Gloria was an exceptional aunt, for as she rose through the ranks of the JLS, becoming Director General, she made sure that the tradition of the library being a family was maintained. By the time she became the director and then Director General of the beloved JLS, most of us were adults. Yet it did not mean that we needed the library family less. In fact, we needed the library family more, because at that stage of life, death would start to visit. It was during the tenure of Aunt Gloria, being the director of the JLS, that death visited my family and took away my mother. But I'm here to say to Aunt Gloria and the JLS aunties of that era that you were the best substitute mothers for both my brother and myself. For you ably carried us through the period of death, funeral, and bereavement. And it does not stop there, however. For one of the things we appreciate about Aunt Gloria and the aunties is that you never, ever have forgotten her. And for that, Aunt Gloria and aunties, thanks very, very much. But on a happier note, it must also be stated that our library aunts, like Aunt Gloria, were our biggest cheerleaders, and they would share in the joy of watching their children become doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, and thankfully, even librarians. They reveled in their children getting married and having children of their own. The success of one member of the library family unit was the success of all. As I close, let me share a secret that next to Aunt Gloria's book, that will share some of the gems about the library. One of my favorite books is a publication that the JLS did in 1969 to celebrate 21 years of service. It's a big, red, thick book. Some of you might remember it. And whenever I get the chance, I go through its pages and reminisce. It's fascinating to look at the various librarians who serve in the parishes across Jamaica and to say, I know her, I know her, I know her. And to feel nostalgic about seeing them and remembering the love they show to us and the nation and community building work in these locations. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring my greetings to a close by saying that the Jamaica Library Service is the greatest example of collegiality that I have ever known. And I consider it a blessing to be the child of a librarian, and so be a part of the library family, of which Gloria Salmon is one of the best examples of librarianship, and also what it means to be an aunt. So Aunt Gloria, and Aunt Gloria's children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, please accept from all your library nephews and nieces and your library cousins heartiest congratulations. And believe me when I say we all share in the joy of this accomplishment. It is a crowning achievement of a life well lived. Congrats.
Thank you very much, Canon Michael Allen. Our next speaker to bring greeting is Mrs. Beryl Urquhart from the St. Boniface Church in Harborview. We know that that was Mrs. Salmon's church, and that Mrs. Urquhart served with her for many years on the fundraising committee. And so we'll now welcome Mrs. Urquhart.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, Miss Maureen Thompson, Director General, Master of Ceremonies, children of Gloria Salmon, colleagues, St. Boniface family, Ian Randall publishers, and all protocols observed. Now I'm here to give you another side of Gloria. And you may wonder, after you have heard so much of her work in the library services, did she have time for anything else? I'm sure my St. Boniface family here, I'm just going to ask Father Hosang to stand up for me. And Father Hosang is very much a part of Gloria's life. I'll also ask my St. Boniface sisters and brother. The brother now would be Father Kirk. So will you just stand for me to make sure that you're here to give Gloria your support? That's from St. Boniface. Thank you. And as I said before, Gloria is a woman of all seasons. You have heard so much about her. And maybe people in the church who see her, and because she's so quiet and humble, nobody knows the real Gloria unless you worked closely with her. Now, Gloria and I were like sisters. We shared on various committees in the church and outside of the church. And so this book that Gloria has written, Beyond My Wildest Dreams, I've been a part of it from the very beginning, edging her along. And as one speaker said, she had put it down at one time. Yes, she did. And then afterwards, she took it up. And I said, Gloria, you just simply have to write it. And she says, Beryl, will you read it for me chapter by chapter? And I said, yes. You know, you do the writing, and I'm not Ian Randall, but I'll read for you and I'll critique. And we went along like that, you know, the teacher and the librarian. And many times we argued about different things, but in the end, you know, Gloria wrote what she wanted to write and took advice from her publishers. So it is more than a pleasure for me to bring greetings from the St. Boniface Church in recognition of this phenomenal woman and a member of the St. Boniface Church for over 30 years. A committed Christian, Gloria has played an integral role in the life of our church. And this she did in a most professional, quiet, dignified, and humble manner. Over the years, she was one who made things happen. She gave stellar service in many capacities. Church committee member, rector's ward for many years, chairman of the Education and Health Trust Fund, chairman of the Investment Committee, vice chairman of the St. Boniface Early Childhood Development Center, member of the St. Boniface Sunshine Caregivers, member of Friends of the Sunday School, member of the Fundraising Committee, and the list goes on. We worked together on most of the committees, and I found her to be an excellent leader, as well as a cooperative team member who displayed her strong administrative skills. We argued at times, but inevitably, we came to a common understanding. Her expertise as a librarian was an asset for our management teams, as in many cases, she undertook the responsibility to keep the records. This she did flawlessly. Gloria is a gem. It could be approximately 2 or 3 years ago that she shared with me that she wanted to write her life story, mainly in thanksgiving to God for having blessed her with a remarkable and rewarding life. She has traveled the world and had incredible experiences which she did not dream possible, beyond her wildest dreams. Of course, I encouraged her and had to promise to read and critique. And so the story began, and I became an integral part of it. So that when, on December 17th, when she got the first copies, then I had my copy, and so I had it from the very beginning. And when I say, Gloria, should I tell the rest of the church about it? She says, not yet, not yet. She wanted to just keep it quiet for the time. Now everybody knows about Gloria's book, and Gloria is not here today physically, but I can tell you that her spirit is here. And although she is ill, her mental faculties are there. And when we tell her that her book is going to be launched, you can see the light in her eyes. She knows what is happening. And she knows that she will have your full support as you are all here this morning because of Gloria and the person she was. I will not say more except that her church, St. Boniface, is thrilled at Gloria's accomplishment. We are elated at the fact that we have an author as one of our members. Boniface clap, no man? Right. One of our members is an author. We salute her milestone achievement and have every confidence that this book will get the readership it deserves and also inspire young professionals to raise the bar and strive for excellence. As she said, to God be the glory, great things he has done. Gloria has fulfilled her dream, and although she's not here physically, she's here in this book and waiting anxiously at home to hear the outcome of this launch. Gloria E. Salmon, OD, member of St. Boniface Church. Thank you.
Yes, so we heard from the church that this is someone who is so much a part of. I recall that in the years when she did her fundraising, she used to make buns. I don't know if that is still done. She used to make buns and sold it to us on behalf of our church for her fundraising effort. Okay, our next item is greetings now from the Jamaica Library Board, and here to represent the board is Mr. David Drisdale. Now, David, too, like myself, has worked with Mrs. Salmon for many years as a junior, as a young boy. And David now is a member of the Jamaica Library Board and is also the university librarian at UTEC. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Madam Master of the Ceremony. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the chairman and the other directors of the Jamaica Library Board, I would like to congratulate Mrs. Salmon on the publication of her book. It's interesting to note that when you go to functions such as these and you have other speakers before you, some of the things that you have in your notes, you hear them already. And I will quote one thing that Miss Randall said, everyone has a story to tell. It's right here. It's the second thing on my little scribble. Everyone has a story to tell. And I echo that, Miss Randall. And in this case, Mrs. Salmon has told her story. I've not read the story as yet, but I look forward to reading the story. You know, the reason for this is that that story that someone else is telling can inspire others. It can add to the body of knowledge, as we say in academia. And it is so important to add to the body of knowledge, but also very important as well to share knowledge. Mrs. Salmon, no doubt, has been a storehouse, a reservoir of knowledge for this organization. The Director General mentioned the number of years that he served the organization for. My own personal intersection, so to speak, with the steps of Mrs. Salmon started all the way back on the 1st of December 1980. I can hardly imagine that December this year would mark 42 years. And Mrs. Salmon was already well established in the Jamaica Library Service, even a stalwart at that time. And so she has a very important story to tell. And very few, in fact, make the time or the effort to document their story. And so I'm very happy that this was done by Mrs. Salmon, even in the twilight of her professional career, right? We can say post-retirement, she was writing and finishing that story. And I would like to salute the publishers, Ian Randall and Ms. Scarborough, Mrs. Scarborough. I heard that they were instrumental in helping to put out this book, because this story must be told. And Mrs. Salmon has been an inspiration to many of us. She was very pleasant to work with. It was a pleasure working with her. In fact, for many of us in the Jamaica Library Service, she was simply Sammy. Behind her back, of course. We wouldn't say that to her face. And so, Sammy, I would like to just mention 3 qualities that I personally admire with her. 1, Mrs. Salmon, as the photo here suggests, was always neat, well-dressed, elegant, right down to the close-crop hairs, the silver hair. And if I were to grow hair again and get old, I would like my hair to look like hers. She was also a person who paid great attention to detail, not just the way she dressed, but of course, even in her work, her professional work. No document would go to Mrs. Salmon and leave the office unless it was perfect. And we might say, okay, well, we are not in a grammar school or anything like that, but as an organization, Jamaica Library Service has set very high standards. And she was one of those who ensured the standards. You know, we upheld the standards. Another thing, and this again intersects the coincidence with something that the Director General says. I have it on my notes too. No lie. Mrs. Sam very caring. And she was always first to ask about family whenever you would run into her anywhere. Slow speaking, but she'd ask, David, how is your wife and children? You know, that's Mrs. Salmon. She's always caring. And you have heard, she's legendary in terms of showing care and concern for the island-wide network. She would always go across the island, visit when family members have lost, in fact, staff members have lost family members and so on, attending funerals and so on. She was well known in the parish library also for visiting committee meetings and rapping with the staff. And of course, like in Portland, when I was the manager for the Portland Parish Library Network, when she would come out there, I would always make sure that, the kitchen staff prepare a nice big fish for Mrs. Salmon, because, we used to cook and make sure that our committee members and our directors were well taken care of. Another thing that I would like to mention is that Mrs. Salmon was very aware of her surroundings. Why do I say this? Well, I will tell you a little anecdote about Al Giles. the Association of Librarians in the Jamaica Library Service. At one stage, I was the president of the professional association representing the interests of librarians. And of course, it's a union, a full-fledged union. And by the way, I'd love to see us just get back to those days when it would strongly advocate on behalf of its members. And so we would have meetings and would discuss very serious issues pertaining to our members. And maybe like the following week, I would go to headquarters for a meeting. And one of the burning issues that we would discuss, Mrs. Samuel would pull me aside. Mr. Just there, I heard that you are discussing so and so. And the expression that would come from me later was, how did Sammy know about that? Well, you see, Mrs. Salmon recognized that as CEO, she had to have her ears to the ground. She was very aware of her surroundings. And so she would address that matter. I can tell her that because after she pulled her aside and talk about it, she would try to do what she could to address the matter. That's the kind of caring person that she was. So she had the right to know and she would address the matter. And those are the three qualities I'd like to mention that I personally remember from working with Mrs. Salmon. I would like to ask the family to pass on congratulations to her on the publication of her book. Yes, everyone has a story to tell, and this has served as an inspiration to me and so many of the other librarians who are here today. Others who have served, stalwarts of the profession even, go and write their story, tell their story. Congratulations again, and it is a pleasure to be here for this very special occasion.
Thanks, David, and thank you for taking us on memory lane again. We're now at a point in the program where we're going to be listening to reading of excerpts. One of the hallmarks of a great memoir is authenticity. Readers want to feel, what the author is writing about, and they want to have a connection to the story. And so, when we listen to Beyond the Wildest Dreams readings, I'm sure we will make those connections. As it states on the back of the book, this is a story of a life of fulfillment in service to family, community, and country. And so we're now going to listen to the excerpts, and the persons reading the excerpts will come in this order. First, we'll have Dakari Dixon, who is Mrs. Salmon's great-grandson, and he will tell us what he will read about. Then Pat Evelyn, Mrs. Salmon's daughter, will do the next reading, followed by Mrs. Pamela Williams, who I see the book is one of her besties, and colleague, of course, from the Jamaica Library Service. And then the final one will be done by Mr. Sam Richards, church friend. So Dakari.
Good afternoon, family and friends. Grandma, someone requested that I read her book, and I'm very honored to do so. Chapter 1, Growing Up in Westmoreland. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Jamaica was in the thick of preparing for Christmas when I cried my way into this world on December 20, 1931, and found warmth in the loving arms of my mother, Daisy. I did not see sunlight until 9 days after birth, as the custom then was for the newborn to be kept in the birthing room for that period and not be exposed to visitors and the outside environment. The intention was to prevent the child from getting a cold. I think, though, that there could be other underlying superstitions which dictated this practice. How times have changed. At the time of writing this story, a newborn baby is sent home from the hospital the next day or removed from the room if both mother and baby are in good health. The time of my birth was one in which superstition reigned, not only regarding behavior surrounding a new birth, but also for other aspects of daily life, including baking Christmas cakes. Tradition dictated that nobody but the person baking the cake should be present in the kitchen or the cake will be spoiled. The first years of my life were spent with my maternal family, grandparents, and aunties, no uncles, as I was told my one uncle had passed away at a young age. My grandparents' other granddaughter, my first cousin Elfreda, was older than I was, and her daughter Olive was my second cousin, was 2 years younger than me. But Elfreda and Olive migrated to the United Kingdom in the 1950s, and although separated by great distance, we remained good friends. I stayed at Olive's apartment in London on several occasions when I visited for the holidays or work. I can recall that about 3 or 4 years of age, I was overcome with joy when my grandparents gave me a tricycle as a Christmas present. The errand boy was asked to teach me to ride, but so as not to touch me in the process. He was given a short stick with a catapult-looking end, also known as a slingshot, which he used to push the tricycle. Very soon, I was riding all over the place, errand boy nowhere in sight. To clarify why the young fellow had to use a stick to guide my tricycle, it is important to note here that my life was guided by the deeply rooted cultural tradition my grandparents embraced, having come from India as indentured laborers. Jamaica at that time was a highly stratified society. The errand boy came from African stock. We were East Indians, while Indians coming into Jamaica did not own land, and therefore the means of production. They were also never enslaved as the Africans had been. This distinction created disputes and tensions between Africans and Indians based on constructs of ethnicity and race. Both races vied over who should be at the bottom of the social hierarchy. For the Indians, the answer was settled. They were never enslaved, so could never be at the bottom. Chapter 2, Time for School. Kept hold of instruction, do not let go, guard her, for she is your life. Proverbs 4, verse 13. I started at Mrs. Amy's preschool in Hartford at age 4 with slate in my hand. It predated basic schools and gave me a solid foundation so that when I entered the Petersfield Elementary School at age 6, I was able to read and write. In the elementary school, classes were separated by blackboards. On some days, classes were held outdoors, and we sat under the trees or on the tombs in the cemetery of the St. Peter's Church, which adjoined the school. We paid attention to the teachers while ignoring the duppies. However, having our classes in the cemetery, there was much talk about duppies and the Black Heart Man. In my thank you letter for the award, which I received at that function as one born and bred in Petersfield and who had contributed not only to that town and to the country, I reminded Rev. Canon Hartley that he did play musical instruments, the guitar and clarinet, but not the piano or organ. Among the many who grew up in beautiful Petersfield and attended the elementary school, the St. Peter's Church, and contributed to the development of the country was the late Bishop of Kingston in the Anglican Diocese of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, the Right Reverend Herman Spence, He was always happy and quick to point out often that the best comes from the West. Time for high school. When I was 12 years old, my parents presented me with a baby sister whom my father named Constance. I was happy to have someone to play with. When she was 3 years old, I would take her for a ride on my bicycle, holding her on the seat with one hand and using the other to steer the bicycle. We did not enjoy growing up together, as when I left home for Kingston at age 19, she was still a student at the Petersfield Elementary School. While I was still at the Petersfield Elementary School, my parents had a Friday evening visit from the headmaster of Manning's, the only high school in Westmoreland at the time. I invited them to send me to take a scholarship examination the next morning. So I, Lori Burgess, for the Plains of Westmoreland, went off to the examination without any knowledge of what I would be expected to do. Clearly, I did well, as a notice came that I was offered a scholarship to attend Manning's starting in January 1944. How could I have anticipated that my invitation to the scholarship examination would dictate the direction of my life in so many ways? The Manning School, the oldest co-educational institution in the island, came into existence through the generosity of an 18th century plantation owner, Thomas Manning, who in 1711 bequeathed all his earthly possessions, land, buildings, cattle, and horses for the use and encouragement of a tutor or tutors for keeping a free school in the parish of Westmoreland to instruct the youth. The legal formalities of the will were finalized in 1738 and Manning's free school was finally opened on the present site and not on the lands left in the will. Preparations started for me to acquire uniforms and a new ladies' wheel bicycle, which I would ride to school 6 miles away on a lonely road. Let me explain what a ladies' wheel bicycle looks like. For those who may not know, both male and female bicycles most times have two wheels, but there is a minor structural change between the two. I think that the designer slash manufacturer of the earliest bicycles ensure that they satisfy the requirements of both genders. The male bike has a bar which connects the handles to the seats, which forms a seat for a passenger. The lady's bicycle is minus this bar, which makes it easier to mount the seats. Additionally, the dress or skirt falls neatly from the knee downwards, thereby presenting a picture of decorum. Above the back wheel is a small oblong attachment which forms a seat either for a passenger or a container for small items. Having entered the doors of the historic structure as a scholarship holder, my 5 years that were spent reveling in all academic subjects and student activities, riding on my ladies' wheel bicycle 6 miles each day, rain or shine, from beautiful Petersfield and on the lonely Amity Road. There's nothing to fear but the black heart man who fortunately I never encountered. My lunchbox occupied the carrier at the back of the bicycle, but on some Monday mornings he had to find another location as a box with cookies baked over the weekend and destined for the tuck shop was anchored there. On a school outing to the beach in Negril, my dressmaker made me a bathing suit that covered my body from neck to below my knees. Not exactly high fashion, but that was the style of the day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, family and friends. Well done, Bakari. Grandma would be very proud of you. 14 days. It was at Manning's that I met my first love and future husband, Cedric Salmon. Throughout the routine of our school days, it occurred to me that he was courting me, as he would bring me a carnation or rose from his mother's garden. I was a willing participant in the courtship. While I ate my home-prepared lunch in the lunchroom, he would bring me chocolates on his return from his lunch. He would accompany me part of the way home after school, both of us on our bicycles. At one point near my home, he would turn off as he knew my dad would soon appear on the scene, as was his regular practice to ensure my safety on the lonely road. I also knew Dad would not be pleased to see my companion, as I was not allowed to talk to my male friends, neither in the shop nor at the gate. But I found ways to be in the company of Cedric, who I grew to call Ceddy. On a Saturday, after music lessons at a venue near to my high school, we would meet at his house. We would sit on the lawn with my head on his lap or walk hand in hand to the nearby river. Despite the distraction of my budding romance, my 5 years at Manning's were richly spent, as I paid keen attention to my schoolwork, and I left with both the junior and senior Cambridge examination certificates. After leaving school, there was no thought of Seti asking for my hand in marriage, as he knew my father would not welcome this news. My dad would often say that I was too young to take on adult life. Nevertheless, we persisted in our friendship, and we would exchange letters through a friend we could trust. We decided to get married though, and predictably, my father was not overly enthusiastic about my decision. As a result of his quiet disapproval, it was a quiet wedding ceremony, which was unusual for our culture, as Indian weddings were usually elaborate affairs. As children of the 1930s and 40s, we knew that there was going to be a wedding when we saw ladies dressed in beautiful white dresses and white head coverings walking in line down the road. They carried on their heads extraordinary decorated trays loaded with wedding cakes. Their journey was from the baker and decorator of these cakes to the venue of the wedding. I had a chance to experience the rituals of an Indian wedding when I was about 10 years old. I was part of the wedding party for my cousin's wedding, and my mother dressed me in a beautiful dress and shoes with a little heel, my first high heel shoes. At the reception, delicious Indian concoctions were served to the guests in the palm of their hands. These appetizers were followed by a wedding feast. On the table, there would be 2 containers to receive gifts of cash for the bride and groom. Indian dances were a feature of these weddings, and they were performed by persons skilled in the art of Indian dance forms. They wore traditional outfits with bells on their hands and legs. The Sunday morning following the wedding, the couple and the members of the wedding party would be dressed in their fineries and attend the church for a turn fast. I missed all of the ceremonial trappings of a traditional Indian wedding for my own special day, but I was happy to be with my best friend. Although reveling in the excitement of being joined to my special someone after our romantic elopement, deep down I really missed getting married in a traditional ceremony in my familiar home church, surrounded by doting parents, my beloved sister, other family members and friends. The partnership now legally and conclusively established, we considered that we had successfully surmounted the hurdle of paternal disapproval, but not prepared to participate in any Cold War, we courageously decided to make the overture, mend the fences, and return to the family unit once more. So soon after the wedding, we planned a short visit home, not knowing how things would turn out. The homecoming was a truly ecstatic one, a genuine reunion, and differences forgotten, we were both welcomed with open arms.
Before long, though, my father, in his inimitable style, gave us an earful. In no uncertain manner, he expressed great disappointment at not being afforded the opportunity to spearhead and participate in a lavish sermon, which he had been planning secretly for his firstborn. It was an unforgettable outpouring of love, a memorable moment of revelation and family bonding. We were finally a happy family together once more. And the final reading, enjoyed my hobby. I will now share with you one of my hobbies, the one I enjoyed most and which also is the one that brought much joy and pleasure to my friends and family. In my student days at high school, I had started experimenting with baking cakes and even supplied the tuck shop. As a young mother, I delved further into the craft of baking cakes, puddings, bullers, buns, and tarts. My friends commended me on the quality of my products, which they enjoyed, whether they were slices of cakes or a small cake or bun. Then I blossomed out into creating christening and birthday cakes for my children and my friends. My pride and joy grew by leaps and bounds at the fun the children had with their cakes in the shape of a butterfly, a cat, or a merry-go-round with the horses made of sugar. My husband, in his encouragement of my work, presented me with a baking room equipped with oven, counter, and shelves. To complete my workroom, he ordered several pieces of equipment from the US, which I needed. So off I ventured into making and decorating wedding cakes. He also provided transportation for cakes, equipment, and me to the venue of the weddings, and later returned to take equipment and me back home. A taste of a slice of my coconut cake so impressed a friend that he decided that he would need a coconut cake for each of his children's birthday. On one occasion, I was unable to do a cake for him, so I referred him to a top pastry shop. The next day, I got a call asking me not to refer him to any pastry shop and demanding that I make some time to do his cake. My rector expressed his disappointment at my not setting up a pastry shop after my retirement. Although I was brought up watching my mother bake and assisting in her shop, I was just not drawn to business. I preferred to make my friends happy with my gifts, which I know they appreciate. And I give thanks for my talent in this special area. And I need to know that she made my son's wedding cake, and it was beautiful. Thank you. This chapter is entering the world of work, and Gloria Salmon approaches it. Looking at Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 10. Whatever your hands find to do it with your mind. Looking for a job after I had given up the idea of a career in dispensing, I came upon an ad in the Daily Gleaner for library assistants in the Jamaica Library Service. Realizing that I had the required qualification, I submitted my application in September 1955 and was invited to attend an interview on December 20 of that day, which happened to be my birthday. We move on to national honors. We move through her career in management to national honors. In chapter 5, I was presented with the National Honor of Order of Distinction, Commander Class, on Heroes Day, October 19, 1998. I was the fourth director to receive a national award. My children surprised me with a celebratory lunch after the official presentation, which family members, friends, and members of the JLS staff joined. Colleagues with whom I worked, both officially and voluntarily, organized a congratulatory function in my honor on August 25 at the Terranova Hotel. The gathering included former senior staff members, including directors, deputy directors, and representatives of the organizations to which I offered voluntary service. The group was headed by then Minister of Education, the Honorable Virgil White, who had responsibility for the Jamaica Land Reserve. In a moving tribute, Mr. Whiteman noted, Mrs. Gloria Sam, a lady of absolute decency and dignity. It is good to find managers who apply these principles of decency above all and dignity in their entire relationship with those with whom they have to deal. I think it is really a wonderful aspect of your administration, and we value it. We do value the energy which you bring to the work, the enthusiasm, the willingness to go that extra mile and to do all these things without the land reserve. Just would not be what it is. Reference has been made to the fact that you are adopting new technology. You have a vision of what the land reserve can do and should be doing more in terms of the development of people and the society. I was particularly touched by the tribute from the Honorable Joyce Robinson, OJ, the first local director of the Jamaica Land Reserve. The tribute read in part, there are 3 former directors still alive, and I was asked to speak on behalf of these. One of them is Mr. Leland Thomas, the other Mrs. Sid Hyde, and yours truly. We 3 speak from experience. It is said that to be a good leader, one needs to have had the discipline of being a good team member. Mrs. Gloria Salmon, CD, is outstanding example of supportive team member who used her apprenticeship period as a manager to nurture and develop excellent qualities, which then have made her into an outstanding leader and executive member. On that occasion also, a former staff member presented a moving tribute in poetry, her own touching creation. We are proud of you. And on this day, we honor you in all we say, for all you've done, for all you do, for all you are, for being you. We're proud of you. We're proud of you, Commander G. We're proud of you. If sun a shine or rain a fall, when things don't side and start to stall, when budget cut, things still run down. For she is styling through the night. As she take the link, she forget the praise. And now, my friend, your glass is raised to glory, deserving honor. We're glad to see she gets CD.
What Mrs. Williams didn't say is that she wrote a poem. And so we're now the final reading, is from Mr. Sam Richard, the church friend, but he's not here. And so the message was recorded, and so we'll listen.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, Ladies and gentlemen, friends all, I am delighted and pleased to have been afforded the privileged opportunity of participating in this historic event, that of the launching of the book, Beyond My Wildest Dreams, authored by my sister and dear friend, Mrs. Brewer Sam. I have publicly said of her on more than one occasion, an expression in our own Jamaican vernacular: she little what she tell. Indeed, I say here again, and you will agree with me, she little what she tell. I extend to her on behalf of my family and myself, and heartiest congratulations with unreserved expectation that her book, Beyond My Wildest Dreams, will add to the jewels of the Jamaican literary church. I have been requested to read chapter 8, captioned Working with My Sisters and Brothers in Christ. It begins with a quote from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7. For to each one is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. And I continue to read. I was brought up in the Anglican Church from birth, having been christened at the St. Peter's Church in beautiful Westmoreland, community of Petersfield. Then attending Sunday school and taking part in activities including being a member of the Juvenile Choir at about age 12. The Anglican Church is in my blood. It was therefore natural that I would find a congregation when I relocated to Peter. I joined St. Patrick's Church on Winwood Road in East Kingston, and later my church in Baytown. I moved to the newly established community of Abbeville in 1960, but it was not until the late 1970s that I started attending the neighborhood St. Boniface Church. In the early 1980s, the rector nominated me for a place on church council. After some experience in the work of the church, the rector made me as his warden. The rector warden assists with administrative duties and is in charge during his absence. In that position, I served 3 months. I served set up to manage specific areas of the church's activities, including finance and fundraising, serving on the altar guild, which was responsible for preparing the sanctuary and the altar for special services, supervising training in musical instruments for youth, serving as secretary and trustee for the education. Sitting on the end of the representative the post served as an exceptional leader and shepherd of his flock for over 33 years. His responsibilities included St. Boniface, St. Peter's Royal, and St. Martin's District. The first man of perfection. We organized several projects to help needy persons, not only for staff, but also for people of different denominations in the community. It was truly an acknowledging the contributions of the leaders of other denominations in the community. In working with my sisters and brothers in Christ, I found that there were few willing and committed members. For the past of years, change hands. I have seen unfold all of commitment from some of the sisters and brothers. Responses to requests for volunteer in some areas are not always ready for something, leaving those responsible to single-handedly help. This is a real testimony. I take the opportunity to urge members throughout Jamaica to use their talents in the service of God, bearing in mind this verse of scripture. How good and brethren together but on the Eastern plans and this from that there was a using the business. The young woman that is advised. The church of the decided. And I want to my best church. Certificates of appreciation will be given to them. That contribute. First occasion of this. On the next one. Wonderful. Involved other than just things.
Okay, we want to just thank all the persons who read. And we got a good glimpse of what is in the book. The Karen spoke about her childhood, read about her childhood. And Pat spoke about the courting days, so we got a piece of the romance. Then we heard about her hobby. And of course, Mrs. Williams spoke about her working life and her national honor. And then Mr. Richards spoke about the church. So we got a good glimpse of all the various aspects of Mrs. Salmon's life. We have an apology now from Miss Judith Maloney, formerly of the Ministry of the Public Service, who wants to say that she's sorry that she's not able to be here today. I didn't properly introduce Mrs. Salmon's children, so I think I should do that. First of all, well, who is first? All right, so Pat was the first born, right? So that was Pat who came up to read, and then who is next? Okay, Angie's next, or Terry, as we know, she's next, and then Brent, Early is not here. She's in the US and she's not here, and then there's Brent. All right, so now we'll have Angela coming to tell us about Beyond the Wildest. Beyond My Wildest.
Good afternoon. Okay, we've come to the conclusion of the program for today, and I'm here to deliver the closing remarks. Only 2 seconds, okay? As mentioned earlier, many persons encourage Mom to write her story, but the following persons are due extra special recognition. So on behalf of my siblings, Pat, Brent, and Erlene, I'm pleased to publicly acknowledge the many friends and colleagues who encourage her in her professional and personal life. Marlene Molly, her friend from St. Boniface Church, her close friends, Beryl, with Faye, Pam, and Sam, her friend of many years, Mr. Randall, who guided her as she contemplated this publication, her editor, Beryl Francis, the IRP team led by Miss Christine Randall, Mrs. Shirley Carby of Carlum Publishers, and most of all, to her Heavenly Father, who guided her steps along the way. I also must thank the current Director General and staff of the Jamaica Library Service, who granted her frequent requests for photographs, many of which made it into the book, and for presenting and hosting this event. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with a sense of pride that I officially launched this book into the Jamaican society and the world at large. I encourage you to purchase the book. It's a record of an extraordinary woman and a phenomenal organization. Thank you. At this time, I invite my brother, Brent, to come and make the presentations of to the Jamaica Library Service, Westmoreland Parish Library for the Petersfield branch, Manning School Library, and St. Boniface Church. So first of all, Ms. Dion Barnett, she here from the Jamaica Library Service. Thank you. And Mrs. Nordia Miller Gray, is she there? She's going to accept 2 books actually on behalf of the Westmoreland Parish Library for the Petersfield branch and the Manning School Library. Here she comes. She's collecting 2, the Manning and the Westmoreland. Okay, so Brother Brent, Lorna Lai is here to collect the book for Manning. Sorry. And I call upon now Faye This is her card. On behalf of the St. Boniface Church. I just want to say thank you, each and every person who attended this program, all the people who are part of it, organizing, having everybody together. It was amazing, and I'm very honored to be here. And I just want to say also thanks to her niece, Carol, who flew all the way from the United States, and her dad, Keith Alder. Oh, sorry, and Carol is the only niece. She keeps telling me that. So oh, did I forget something? Hold on. I crossed out a lot of my stuff. The book. Okay, yes. The book is on sale when you come up. Please. I'll have your picture taken. I'm kidding, but tell them about it. We'll be serving refreshments at the back. And the book will be on sale for $2,000. And for those who would like to use debit cards, I'll give you credit and take your info and collect at a later date, okay?
Thank you all. We're now going to just listen to the song In Your Hands. It's one of the songs that Mrs. Salmon has at the end of her book, and so we're going to listen to it. In your
I play today, tomorrow, in your hands, Lord, I surrender in your hands. I commit my joys, my sorrow. In your hands, Lord, I place today, tomorrow. In your hands, Lord, I surrender all. In your hands, I commit my joys and sorrow. I commit my joys, my sorrow. In your hands, Lord, I surrender all. In your hands, Lord, I place today, tomorrow. In your hands, Lord, I surrender all. In your hands, I commit my joys, my sorrow. In your surrender all. So we're at the end of our program, and I'm now going to call on Mrs. Stacy and Gentle Dixon to move the vote of thanks. She's the Adult Services Librarian at the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see you all here. So I'm just going to be doing the vote of thanks this afternoon. Ms. Barton, our MC, our former Director General, thank you. To our current Director General, Ms. Thompson, I just want to say thank you. The Salmons family, so I just want to say thank you, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to say thank you from the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Library. This is historical, and the reason being is the first a director is launching a book. And we just want to honor her today. May you give her a round of applause for that, please. Thank you. I am glad that you accept our invitation to share in this occasion. I hope you are comfortable, but senior persons are funny. So it means that the next time you will be a little more comfortable than today. I'm just hoping that will happen. And I pray that moving forward, using this space, we'll feel comfortable in sharing. We will not be funny and we will be more engaged. As you know, the heat is causing distraction. And so we look forward to partnering with others so we can create a more cohesive and a more comfortable space. So as we share, we can feel comfortable and we can feel more relaxed so the heat won't affect us. To our online viewers, I just want to say thank you to all the persons sharing and to all those who are online that are putting forth their information. We look forward again to your support, those in the audience today and those online. We look forward to your support and we seek your continued support as we move forward in doing more ventures like this. We have another venture coming up, another book launch. And so we'll share that information. You can visit our website and you will see the information posted. And so we're just asking you to support as we go along. I want to say thank you to Ms. Walker, our regional director from St. Anne's Parish Library, for making the recordings of Mr. Richard available. Thank you to our technical team, Mr. Stewart and company. I just want to say thank you on your behalf this afternoon to our staff that helped us create the space, to make the space what it is. I can say it was hard work, it was much work doing all of this. But today I just want to say thank you all for your support, for being there for me when I needed the support in doing all of this. It wasn't easy, but today, as I can say, it was well paid off. We can say that, right? Right. And so as we move forward, we're encouraged today. We were enlightened by words from Mrs. Salmons. And so moving forward, we can use those words to encourage ourselves. We can take something from our book that can enlighten us to brighten our pathway. And as librarians, sometimes it's not easy for us because I'm a librarian. And I know it's a task. But we all can do it. Teamwork made the dream work. And so today, on behalf of the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Library, our regional director, our senior director, Ms. Simpson, Mrs. Austin, the planning coordinator, myself, and Ms. Barton. I just want to say thank you all, and I wish for you a great day and all the best and all the success. On that note, I want to say our section is upstairs, and so if it is that today you want to renew your membership, you can do so. And if it is that you want to join the Our team, you can also do so upstairs. We're there to sign you up so you can become a member. Looking forward to seeing you in the future and have a great day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just my closing remarks. You know, ladies and gentlemen, writing an autobiography is not an easy task. It is one that requires discipline and tenacity. So we salute Mrs. Gloria Samuel for this singular achievement. Like many other writers, there were several stops and starts and questions about why am I doing this? Why should I do this? But Mrs. Salmon stuck it out to the end. And here we have a story of resilience, fortitude, and pride, coupled with humility and dependence on God. Gloria Salmon's wildest dream has been achieved with the publication of these memoirs. We thank her, we thank you, Mrs. Salmon, for sharing your story with us. And as she states in the concluding paragraph of the preface, it is my hope that young people reading this story will be encouraged to climb the ladder to achieve their goals and give back to their school and community to enhance their development and our country, Jamaica, land we love. Thank you all for coming. Have a very good afternoon. Please remember to support the sale of the book, $2,000 per copy. And as Pat says, she will credit you if you need to.
Yeah.
We're also inviting persons to sign the poster here, which we're going to give to the family. So everybody in attendance have a marker up here that you can use to sign the poster.